Hey guys, it's E-Man, or you can call me Lionheart, and we are doing another draft analysis for another league I'm in. This time I'm not alone though. I got a good pal of mine, someone I trust in the league. Um, Okami, I believe, is how you want to be known as.
Yes, sir. That's right.
Yeah, he asked me to be a co-captain in his league, which I'm very grateful for. I'm not gonna lie, I've been too scared to be a captain, let alone a co-captain in most leagues, as most people know from my channel. So it's really cool to be a part of another one. But I think I'm more happy about this league than any other because it's someone I am very comfortable building with, but also because we have very close minds when we build. So yeah, I guess we should get into the draft. Yeah.
I'm here for it. Let's do it. So yeah, no, it's just a real quick for the viewers here. So Key and I we're gonna be running co-captains here. It's gonna be more like a team effort than co-captains. So we'll be one team, one fight. I think we got a pretty good draft ahead of us here. Pretty solid team we drafted. So we'll just run through a quick review of each team, kind of what we thought, and I'll go ahead and start us off by our first round pick. As a Pokemon we both were pretty excited to draft early. It's a pick that not a lot of people were expecting because it is a I don't know, King. Do you want to break us down with the format of the draft, or do you want me to break it down?
Um, I would say you because my channel is used to this because I have done multiple recently, but I'm also very new to this type of draft. So
Okay, so this is a formatted draft. So you draft tiers of months. So in the draft, you can draft an A2, and then following that, you draft three B tier months, two C tier mons, three D tier mons, and three E tier mons. The other way to draft is the A2, which is you get one A2, three Bs, three Cs, two Ds, three Es. And how we drafted originally, we had planned to get Zeraora, which would have been an A2, and so we ended up not getting. We got sniped, so we ended up having to pivot. So we went a different route. But our first round pick was a B tier mon, and it was none other than our good friend and a lot of fame behind this. It was our good friend Dracovish was our first round pick.
yes, I think I don't think much has to be said about DRACOVISH. To be fair, the mon is very well known for what it does. It clicks that Fisher's Friend. It shoots an AK-47 that shoots nukes. It just gets kills. Scarf and Bandage just kind of does everything for it. But I I also felt like we should have picked up early because another thing should be known is that we were very early. I think we were like round 3 pick, round 2. What were we again?
We were the second round pick.
Yeah. So I just don't think this was gonna come back. So making it to like a very first pick, I think is very comfortable. This mon, I honestly feel like should have been banned. I know Natdex is very well known for having a lot of power, but Fisher's Ven is still just very hard to deal with. I know like stuff like Dragonite with multi-skill still takes like 40% to it, which is crazy. Um, so I'll let you also talk about it. I don't want to be the only
Oh no,
one
you
talking
tell
about
you,
it.
yeah, of course. No, I saw when we originally started planning it out and like laying out the foundations of what we wanted to do for this draft. Both of us with the mindset of taking it a little seriously, taking some actions here. I feel like Dracovish was a good, solid first round pick. I do agree with you. It does have the Ubers tag,
Yep.
and Natdex, which is a fun thing to see. It's got the utility options in Water Absorb. I mean, it's got everything you would expect to prevent Scald, and also everything you would expect into, like you said, AK-47, 100-round drum mag gets put in it, and it just clicks Vicious Friend. And it can do other things, but I mean, when you see it, you're expecting it. Why not?
Yeah. I think funny enough, I do think a defensive Dracovish could come with Water Absorb because it also gets Super Fang, so it could be one of the very big nuisance. But I do think the offensive is going to be the main factor. The one thing I do want to complain about is that its only dragon move is Outrage, which is a great dragon move. However, it's also very scary if we just kind of want to make sure this mon dies afterwards. Um, but to be fair, I don't know if we'll be clicking a bunch of other moves besides Fisher's Friend when it just kind of always does more. So.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I mean, having outrage is great. I mean, yeah, for a mon like this, I mean, what would you expect other than outrage? I mean, Dragon Claw maybe, but um, having the outrage for it. I mean, if you're running that whatever set you happen to be running, whether it be Choice Scarf or Choice Band, if there's no fairy in front of you, it's still going to do a chunk of change of damage. Nothing near Fisher's Friend, nothing near Strong Jaw, but it's going to do. Like I said, I firmly believe the first round pick will put in some work.
Yeah.
And it pairs very well with our second round pick. So.
Yeah. You want me to say it, or do you want to say it?
I took the first. No, yeah, I'll take it only because it was the centerpiece for me for the draft, and and that is a mod I've been personally excited to use in my 12 plus years of draft experience. I've been excited to use this mod. So Tapu Fini was our second round pick. It is a mod that has eluded me in draft. It also intrigued me in draft because of what it can do both in VGC and in singles. I mean, the utility it brings, the offensive pressure it can bring, the ability to set up Misty Surge and protect your whole entire team from status is nothing to look at once and say, hey, can't bring status, so I have to try to whittle it down some other way. And it's I mean, what more can you say on that? Because it prevents all status, essentially, unless they're trying to train battle you, but
Another thing that's very nice about Fini with this pick is that, of course, a lot of people know Fini for its very, very well known just great bulk and being a very annoying, bulky, like, Nature Madness, kind of set with, like, defog and all that stuff, but it is very easily can be an offensive one with that Misty Surge Moonblast and Skulls hitting really hard. I wouldn't be shocked if we do run an offensive Fini, or even just some sort of Calm Mind. But I do also would like to mention, because I kind of forgot to say this at the start, is that this is, of course, Nat Dex. I mean, should be known now that we chose 2 mons that are not in Gen 9, but I know people with my channel does not know much about Nat Dex, at least. I think I've done like 3, or shown 3, so.
Well, another note that Tapu Fini has is it's in some cases, I mean, with it being a terrain setter, it is one of the only terrain setter that if the team, since we're talking, your chat's familiar with Gen 9, it's one of the preventers of Electric Surge, because Tapu Koko is in the format we're in. So the fact that it can also stop the mons like Iron Jugulus and whatnot, it's going to help us in the long run, stopping those booster energy and those that series of guys that want electric train, because the train's allowed, so
yeah,
it's going to be.
There's another thing we should mention that I believe A tier mons only, Paradox A tiers were not allowed to use booster, which is a very big thing. I'm gonna like, no Iron Val having boosted definitely limits its factor, but I wouldn't be shocked. I haven't fully checked the teams yet, but I wouldn't be shocked if a lot of Paradox mons and A tiers and B tiers just have like Pinuchin or Tapu with, just because it just fits so well, and the fact that you can counteract the one ban.
Before we move on to the third, I have the draft board fold up. I mean, Iron Valiant, Iron Bundle, Great Tusk, and Palafin are all A1 mons that did not get drafted at all. They're still on the board to be traded for.
That's crazy.
Oh.
I mean, I guess I get Iron Val, because I feel like Iron Val without booster is a very big hindrance. You gotta feel comfortable with Val to use it without it, I feel like. So that makes sense, but the other ones I kind of a shock. Because I know you were talking about Great Tusk when we were drafting.
So. Yeah, and then I talked myself out of it. When you said when we started initially, and you said you wanted to get Dracovish, and I was like, well, that goes in line with me wanting Zero-Aura, and then obviously Feeny fell in line with that. I was like, that team synergy takes away from Great Tusk. Plus, what is Great Tusk going to do to DRACOVISH? He's going to get hit by Fish's Rend because he can't boost her, and it's going to die. Even if it's max bulk, it's not going to do enough damage to DRACOVISH to kill it because it's lacking that booster energy, and that's why I feel that it is still on the board. The one I was thinking that of the A-tier mons that is still on the board that I was shocked to see still on the board was Palafin, and then second being Iron Bundle. Iron Bundle is still good without booster energy. I guess it's not that good to be, riding the bench here in this draft league this time around.
Yeah.
I'm glad. Don't get me wrong. With DRACOVISH, I'm glad it's on the bench. But
yeah, very true. I've always been an Iron Bundle hater, so I'm kind of one of those guys who like, hey, fuck him, but also like it makes sense why he's not around. I think people are just scared of those Hydro misses, but I think Palafin's a very big surprise that no one drafted. That man's a monster.
Yeah, so a couple other surprises before we move on too that you should mention to the chat is Annihilate is still on the board, and as you had mentioned, after our draft concluded, one counter to our draft that I do agree with you is the Aegislash is still on the board, and that's Aegislash, Annihilate, Celesteela. Those mons that can put in some decent work to, against our team were not drafted. So
yeah, I'm definitely shocked with Celesteela, especially since I'm using it in Gen 7, and I think I got like 2 5-0s with it. I'm like, this mon is a monster, both defensive and offensively. That's a shock that's still around. But speaking of Ultra Beast, I feel like we should talk about our next pick then in that case, which you would...
I'll let you take this.
Yeah, I'll take this, because I was the one that was kind of talking about it. I was trying to get him convinced with it. People who are known for people who know me from my drafts know me for Guzzlord, because I started with them and I did crazy with them and I won my first draft with them. Oh fuck! I said his name. We're making Guzzlord. We picked up Guzzlord. For the big reason because we can tear it. Terra rules specifically in this is that E and D, I believe, right? E and D are both completely free Terra. Which means they can give any of the Terras we feel like. We are, you guys should be kind of known for this, because in my other drafts recently we've been doing free Terra, but Guzzlord is a big one. I feel like Guzzlord is a massive one. Guzzlord, we know from, at least I know from experience, Terra failure is all it needs to just completely do everything it wants to. But now the fact that we can run any typing in any matchup is just really, I think, kind of the most busted thing. This mon, I won't be surprised if it's gonna do as good as it did in my very first draft, which is it just becoming a kill leader and just instantly ranking up those kills when both me nor the opponent expected it to do this well. I will also talk about something that I know Okami is probably drooling over, is that base 223 HP stat.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
do we even have to talk about that HP stat?
Well, it's the reason why our HP got, is leveled out so high. Just alone with Guzzlord, it set the scale. It put our graph on an upward trend. It averaged us out, and what can you say? It's got when you look at a mon like Guzzlord, and I think you said it the best. This is the anticipation of what Terras it's going to be, and how is it going to impact my team. It's free Terra on Guzzlord. Like I said, I love the bulk mindset here. I like what it has. I like what it does. I'm liking its attack and special attack are not the highest, but they're high enough to be in a spot where you're looking at the sets, looking at the move pool, and predicting. When you're predicting and you have to predict multiple mons. A lot of our team, we have one-dimensional, and then we have mons like Guzzlord, who, the mixed set is available, the physical set's available, the special set's available, and it's got an HP stat that, with Terra, makes it almost impossible to one-hit. So it gets something. It's a mon that will be providing some value in some way, and I'm here for it.
Absolutely. Another thing that I feel like that is just so nice about Guzzlord, especially with the like how you said with the very one-dimensional Dracovish to now the Guzzlord, is the fact that we have such a great move pool. So I think the terrors are even more kind of up to range because we could very much just be a stab terror for like the 11 typings that we have for move coverage. Or we could just be like that Terra Fairy or Terra Poison for the moves that we don't have coverage for. But the fact that we kind of can run any type of coverage and have any type of stabs we need already, besides like even just like the small things of like Gyro Ball with this base 43 speed, or just even the body presses with Iron Defense that Okami was talking about before we even started. Um, there's a lot that this mon kind of just even with Terra, it kind of just becomes more of a unpredictable mon, I feel like, with Terra, which is something that you need to try to do with free Terra, I feel like, and I think Guzzlord did that perfectly.
Yeah, exactly. And even if you don't, I mean, everybody probably heard us say Dracovish, right? Dracovish is dragon, water. Deancey. Tapu Fini is fairy water, and Dracovish, wow. And, our boy Guzzlord is Dark Dragon. And the two major weaknesses of Guzzlord are countered by Tapu Fini. So even if we don't bring Terra on it, and it is on our team, its mouth is going to be wide open. It's going to be doing things that you're going to have to anticipate. And I just want to let everybody know, there's one thing that this mon can do that is very interesting that you probably wouldn't think would be good, and that is last resort, Terra Normal Last Resort. I'm just saying, think about it for a minute. Not saying I'm going to run it, not saying we're going to run it, because that is some silly stuff, but it's an option.
That is true. I mean, I was just looking at that when I was talking about the great move pool. I saw that, I'm like, I wonder if we'll try to use that one day. But another move I was also looking at is a move that actually kind of synergizes really well, which is something I knew about after we drafted it, was Steel Roller, which is the base 130 steel move that if terrain's up, we can use it basically. So it kind of does this really cool synergy with Fini of like, if we don't really want to use terrain with Guzzlord, or if we don't really see a purpose with it, we can kind of be like a really weird like banded or just super offensive Steel Roller set and just kind of nuke offensive fairies against us, which is very nice to think about.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm like I said, when you and it's I mean, adding that second layer right there, like you just did. I mean, that's another reason why, because I'm not experienced with Guzzlord. I mean, I know what he does, and I know what he is, and I know what he has access to, and but just to have him in your hands and have these options, this is kind of why he fits into our spot. And mind you, he's an E-tier mon, so when we drafted him, people were a little surprised. Obviously, they called us out because they knew he was going to be one of our Terra captains, but we set our precedents early with our team. I mean, with our next pick here, I mean, it really sets a precedence on why we drafted the way we did, and why we picked, for example, why we went Dracovish first and Fini second. I mean, with our fourth round pick. I mean, you want to go ahead and go into the fourth round?
Sure. A fourth round. Honestly. Actually, you know what? No, you take it up. I want you to have the last one. The last typing of this guy.
Okay, so our third round, our pick was, Guzzlord. It's a dragon. And our fourth round pick, shockingly enough, when it made it to us, was our Chaladon. Now, yes, that is, out of the first 4 picks we made, we have 3 dragons drafted immediately. But again, you have 3 dragons. One's weak to fairy. Guzzlord's weak to fairy and fighting and bug. And our Chaladon's weak to ground fighting. And those primary stats, which are all resisted by Tapu Fini, bar the ground type. However, our Chaladon, with that synergy, does so much more. And the fact that it made it to us on the 4th round. Obviously, we're at the tail end of the 6th, or tail end of the draft, because we picked second on this pick. Regardless, you could call it the 4th pick, you could call it the 5th pick. It made it to us. We sniped several people. And, I mean, I think everybody knows when you think about Archaladon, you think about what it's been doing lately. And that is a lot of different things. I don't want to expose too much of it, but the mon has so much that it can do. The defensive sets, it's got foul play, it's got body press, it's got flash cannon, it can lay rocks, it can set up screens. It's got everything you could want in a dragon behind Tapu Fini. If I'm being honest.
Yeah, another thing that I feel like that is, I think most people will understand with this pick is that if you've played the new DLC draft, you kind of just know this mon. This mon had completely dominated all of ladder, and this mon has also dominated all of draft, really. I think it's a very, like, it's crazy that we picked up another dragon, and it looks like we're doing dragon spam, which I swear it was not the plan, but Arch was just too good to pass up round 4, and like he said, like Okami said, there's just a bunch of really great sets that we can run with this. Yet again, it gets that steel roller. I know I'm like a weird freak for this, but I just feel like the fact that we can use terrain to not only an offensive stance is just really nice for our team. Because of course it brings a lot of defensive for us, but now we can just also use it very offensive and also kind of just mind play our opponents a little bit with kind of not expecting us our own, ourselves to get rid of the terrain, not them, but us. But another thing is that a rocks like sturdy set I have actually seen ran before, and like Nat decks, like very uber drafts, because of like the rocks and screens and all that stuff, which is a very smart set, honestly. So I really do see us running a lot with this.
Oh yeah, I do see Archaladon putting in the work that it's where we picked it at when it fell to us. I think it wants to be on the team. It wants to be behind, kind of like the mindset I had said earlier. I think it wants to be behind Fini. I feel like it's going to thrive on the team. I think like you had said, we look like we have dragon spam. It wasn't the intention, but at the end of the day, we have 3 dragons on our team. Which one are we bringing? You know what I mean? We set up 3-headed Hydra, almost like we had Hydreigon or Iron J on our team. Not saying we don't, but I'm not saying we do either. But
yeah, if we said that after these picks, honestly, I think we're just asking for to be made fun of for dragon spam.
Yeah.
But also, of course, this is the very basic Assault Vest set, which I feel like we have to talk about. Just it being an absolute monster with these stats, except that really weak Spadef. And, of course, AV just completely giving it basically that perfect power crept stats right there. Which honestly could be something that we bring very often. Like, if we're just, like, when in doubt, AV it out with Archaladon. It's very easy to do that with this mon, especially with its great move pool.
No, yeah, and I thoroughly agree. I mean, you got multiple different sets you can run on it. You can also, when you, like you said, you can run it the mixed set with AV. You can run, special defense set with AV. Or you can just let Tapu Fini soak up your special hits with that 130. But at the end of the day, like I said, Archaladon's got everything we needed to have and more.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those mons that it works well with any mons, of course. But it's one of those mons that really does do all of it wants to do kind of by itself. It doesn't need kind of help. Help is appreciated for Archaladon, but help is definitely not needed for this mon, I feel like.
Oh yeah, I don't think this mon. I don't think Archaladon's looking in the mirror saying who's going to beat me today. I think it's looking back like I'm going to drop this Draco on whoever comes in front of me, minus any fairy that wants to come along and completely immune my ability or my move.
Very true. I think honestly, people are probably annoyed with us keep talking about Arch, knowing that they have probably dealt with so many Arches just absolutely destroying them.
Well, I'll say this. I mean, I would agree with you, because there is one threat to Archaladon that did not get drafted. And a lot of people would assume that a good check to Archaladon would be Goldingo, but Goldingo was not drafted in this league, so we have one boon, going against us
And
that we don't have to.
Aegislash, of course, like you said, that's kind of another
Yep.
check to this.
Yep. I mean, Aegislash doesn't want that earthquake, but you know.
True.
Who am I? Who am I?
Let's stop talking about this stupid tower because I know we'll probably not surprisingly get like 5-5-0s with this mod. This mod is very stupid.
Yeah, no, the tower's gonna fall on somebody. Or as some people refer to it as the bridge. I mean,
it's both a tower and a bridge, probably in most people's eyes.
Yeah.
With our next pick, this next pick was a pick that you're very comfortable with, I believe, right? But
Yes, you are correct.
This is my first time using it. However, I'm very excited to use it. I've actually tried to use this ever since like my very first draft. It was on my OG draft. And I'm just like, I don't want to pick it up. I'm too scared. It was Tangros. Tangros, honestly, I think not much needs to be said about a regen mon. To be honest, a regen mon does exactly what a regen mon should be doing. It's debatably the best ability in draft. It kind of just soaks everything up. It completely counteracts the mindset of getting permanent ship. It's also that fact of you can kind of take any surprise attack that you weren't really ready for and just throw it into this regen mon, and then boom, you're good to go. However, Tangos kind of has more. It can kind of do more than just any other regen mon, because most of Gen 9 regen mons are used to kind of taking those hits, doing something very basic, like clicking one of those stab moves, or something like Toxic or something like that, and then kind of leaving. But Tangos can do a lot.
Yeah, no, Tango does a lot. I mean, when I look at Tango, I kind of like look at it's the polar opposite to Gudra. Bar that Gudra has the dragon typing. This is a grass. Gudra has a special defense. This has the defense. But the one thing that I like about Tangrowth is you don't need to you don't need to decide what attack you're going to do, because it's got the base 100 attack and it's got a base 110 special attack. It's got the things that a Pokemon wishes it had, minus its special defense and its speed. I know those aren't there, but like you were saying, it's a regen mon. It's also a chlorophyll mon. Not that chlorophyll is the way you want to run it, but it's a chlorophyll mon. And then, as you had said, King, it's when you look at a regen mon, what does this mon have above the others? It's got Leech Seed, it's got Morning Sun, and it's got Pain Split. I mean, that system of abilities that it has are different, because you can come in, take the damage, Pain Split it off, swap out, resist the hit, Tangrowth comes back in, and it was like it was never off the battlefield. You've whittled something down without actually physically touching it.
Yeah, another thing that I've actually just kind of realized was exactly what you said. The Morning Sun. I'm like, whoa, wait, it gets regen, but I feel like this mon has kind of does the same thing as another mon that's kind of spiking, especially in Draft League, which is Hydrapple. It's a regen mon, but it's a regen mon that puts so much pressure. Either just like a very defensive, annoying pressure with, like I said, the Leech Seed, or what Okami said, or just like very annoying knockoffs, so just using that really strong base special attack or attack stat. Like, it doesn't need investment to hit hard. So I
Yeah,
think, you go.
No, it's all good. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. But no, yeah, I think you said one thing there that I think that it has over Hydrapple and the other regen mons. Bar your good friends that have the knockoff. I think that the knockoff that it has comes behind a 100 base attack, and it doesn't even, like you said, it doesn't even need to be invested. But that knockoff is going to hit you, take off the item, and he's going to, as you look at it, when he stands there in his model, he's going to waddle away, come back with full health. I mean, again, this is another mon that it's got the toxic still. It maintained its toxic. It's got a bunch of utility moves that are available to it that just seem so cool. And the one thing that a lot of people also forget that it has is it's one of the mons with Grassy Glide. And not that you're gonna run it, but if you face a team that is favoring the idea of Unburden and running grassy terrain, it's got access to a quick chip that could finish off a red health Pokemon in front of you and do it. It's just there to, I mean, let's be honest. We needed to draft it. We needed another mon that a lot of people hate to play against, and this is one of them.
Absolutely.
This is a fun mon to use, and as you look at it, it's wiggling its hands around, and it wants to tickle you to death. I mean, it's what it wants to do, and it's what it's going to do. It's going to have a lot of fun.
Yeah,
we may have to try to run bide on it though. I really think we should run bide.
I don't know about that one. Honestly, yeah, I don't know. I talked about that today. I was doing a Nuzlocke of just of a game, and I fucking got my whole team bited. You bring it up just upset me. That's the only reason why I said that. I'm hurt now. I remember everything I lost from that stupid move.
Yep, no, I've been there before. I played Nuzlocke and lost to an Electivire that used bite on me, and it hit me, and my guy was full health, and I had just trained him up and got one-tapped by the bide. So I feel your pain.
Yep, bite is definitely a very annoying move. Honestly, looking at him, he could run it, because I was just going to talk about the most common set for it, of course, which we didn't even bring up, is the very obvious Assault Vest set, with just, not yet again, just like Arch, kind of counteracting, of course, not that speed tier, but that one bad thing about his defensive side being that low SPDF. That we basically now have the exact same SPDF as we did now with all our other stats with Assault Vest. And he doesn't really have that downside of running Assault Vest just because his move pool is so great. And just like Okami said, you don't need that investment, or just simply this, 110, 100 attack stat. Doing big damage. So being on Assault Vest really actually just gives it more pluses than negatives. But I don't know. I do probably see us running a lot of very wacky sets with this mon, especially that Grassy Glide. Honestly, now when you said that, I almost said we need to draft Rillaboom. This mon as Grassy Glide would go crazy as an offensive mon.
Yeah, I think Rillaboom is still on. I don't think Rillaboom got drafted.
That's crazy.
Yeah, Rillaboom did not. And when you look at the draft too, I mean, I know we're just focusing on our team, but there's a couple mons that we had talked about that did not get drafted. Mega Titar is still on the board. Peachurant is still on the board. Reuniclus, which you and I both really like. I knew you had a lot of success with him in the draft we were in together, despite both of us getting knocked out. But Reuniclus is still available, and then like I said, Rillaboom is still there. And an underrated counter to Tangrowth that we aren't going to have to worry about is Garganical. I mean, that is any regen mon hates to fight Garganical, and we will, not yet, but we will, nobody has him on their team yet, so just some things to think about.
I can't wait for me to drop this video, and then like a day later, all these picks we just talked about just get magically picked up. Like, oh hey, Aegislash and Golden Go got picked up, and so did Goig? That's crazy. Rillaboom now, whoa.
Whoever picked up Rillaboom, you're just helping us out at the end of the day. I mean, you got to worry about a mon that is laughing when Rillaboom... No, I'm not saying completely laughing, but most coverage Rillaboom runs, Tangrowth's looking at like, you want to catch this Rocky Helmet? Go ahead. Let's see whose Grassy Glide lasts the other person's. I'm here for it.
I was just about to say that actually about our team. Excuse me. We do have a very knockoff weak heavy team, I would say. Stuff like Arch, most likely either being that very nice lefties that he just doesn't have, like Recovery for that AV. Same with Tangrowth. And same with that Dracovish. That's a big one, of course. I didn't realize that honestly until now after we kind of were just looking through the mons, which is why Draft Analysis is really nice. You kind of realize even as the players certain things about your teams, and that's something that we definitely got to keep in mind for later weeks.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think I do agree with you, especially with us having a couple of picks that we're going to get into a little later. Well, two of the picks we're going to get into a little later. I mean, they're severely crippled down by the knockoff. The only thing that we have against the knockoff is we have mons that are willing to, when you know a knockoff is coming, we do have mons that are like, I can knock my item off and not worry about it, and then knockoff becomes pointless. I mean, we drafted Tapu Fini. I know you said we don't have a lot of knockoff resist, but we drafted Tapu Fini, who is essentially going to take the knockoff and never take any more than 10% damage.
Very true. Yeah.
and still can recover it back.
Absolutely. I do
Other
think, of
means.
course, like I said, the knockoff is really scary to most of these mons, like Vish, Oich, most Tango sets, even Guzzlord. Sometimes Guzzlord loves to run AV. But we do have a type of Feeny that just soak those hits and I do say most Tango sets, but there's also a lot of Tango sets that just don't give a shit about its items. So that might be, a region into Feeny, and now we just kind of have a back and forth with knockoffs that we really don't really give a shit about. So that is very true.
Yeah, yeah. We also have another mon we'll get to later that also when we could touch on it when we get to it. But we also have another mon on our team that we're going to get to here soon that also doesn't. I would say is in the same factor of regenerator that Tangrowth is. Same typing and everything, and if you guys figure it out, that's great. But it's another one that can also slouch off the hits, the knockoff as well. I do agree. I do have a lot of severe weakness to the knockoff, but at the end of the day, when I look at a lot of the other teams, a lot of teams also have a knockoff, knockoff weak team too. So it's just playing around how you're going to take the knockoff, like you said. Let Tangrowth. I think Tangrowth can take the knockoff. Get a little bit of chip if you're running the Rocky Helmet, or even you get some chip in by running an item that says, okay, you're going to knock me off, but then you're going to get booted out. Like your red card or uh, an item that may get consumed if it's low. So
Yeah. I also think we're very lucky that knockoff is physical, because if it was special, that Tangoth would not be liking those knockoffs.
like Gen 3.
Yes, it would really, really hurt. But luckily, we don't have to worry about that. We should probably talk about a next pawn, which I think you talk about it mainly because I actually don't know what we drafted exactly next. Because this is when
Oh yeah,
everything
no
kind of got
problem.
wacky, I believe, right?
No, I would say we got wacky. I would say these picks are a little unconventional because obviously when it again like our Chaladon kind of fell in our laps. This next mon fell in our laps, and this is a mon we both know the potential of. I've used Diancie, who we drafted after Tangrowth there. Um, in the 6th round there, we drafted Diancie. And Diancie is one of our free chair mons that we selected after the draft. We do have this as the free chair option, and Diancie just kind of checks and balances, like you had said earlier with the knockoff. It's another mon that can kind of come in and check the knockoff, check the physical fighting moves, and another one of our potential rock layers with clear body. I mean, there's no stat drops happening here. Free Terra, so the teams are going to have to anticipate what we're going to bring. The one thing I hope all the teams start to realize too with Diancie is when Diancie comes in, lays up rocks, Terra normals and explodes and takes out a mon with it. Rocks. I mean, I'm not going to say that I warned you. I'm just saying you just look at it and it has more than everything that you want, and especially when we brought in the physical mons or the defensive mons. We focused on the physical. Now we've moved into some more special. We have the Encore. We have the Hillbill. So we got some team synergy. I know that our focus will be probably towards the Misty Surge, or depending on how we orient the team. Because I know we've kind of looked at the team now. We've had the time and kind of reorienting what we need to do. But another thing to take consideration when you look at Diancie is its special pool and its physical pool of moves. And the one move that oftentimes you forget Diancie has access to is that mystical fire. So not only is it laying up rocks and crippling your team down, but it's also coming in your special mons, throwing down a mystical fire and taking its time doing what it needs to do. I'm gonna lay up a spike or two. Maybe I'll trick room. Maybe I'll toxic. What is the Diancie this week gonna be doing? And that's. I'm glad we got it where we got it because I would have drafted this mon earlier, in my opinion, with the free Terra choice. So
Yeah, I definitely feel like this mon was an absolute steal, and we both saw. I saw from the outside, but I think Okami also said that in the inside he saw Diancie was on pretty much everyone's team. It's kind of a steal because this is also a D tier pick. This isn't a B tier pick or anything like that. This is not like we have to trade one of our good mons away. This is very much a low tier point mon with an incredible Terra, and we don't have to. I don't believe we have to show Terra preview, Meaning this mon is a really truly just like absolute surprise factor. Another thing that I really love about Dancy, and it's kind of a theme that I kind of just loved, kind of finding out recently about myself, kind of, is that we can run rocks and spikes and then be Terra Ghost, just so we can now not only set up the hazards but stop hazard removal, which is really nice. Um, and if something does
Nothing like spin blocking yourself. That's I.
It's yeah, I don't know. It's something that's very nice to just think about if you build a very defensive mon with that factor. But just like Okami said, clear body is very nice. Mainly for the fact of stuff like people might just fish for drops, mainly on stuff like shadow balls, something like that for those defense as with F drops because this mon does get calm mind and I mean I think everyone knows what calm mind Diancie with Diamond Storm can do. Um, I also people definitely know on my my channel exactly what Diancie does because I think this will be the third time where Terra Diancie will be using it, but not only that, but I think this will be possibly I don't want to say anything, probably the third time Terra Diancie will become a kill leader. Um, this mod I don't know why it was allowed to tail. I'll be fully honest. I think probably Okami knew when I typed it out in a chat was like I just in all caps was like why is this mod allowed?
Yeah, it's one of yeah, I do agree there. It's one of those mons that it just the utility, the offensive pressure, the chain. Like I said, it's one of those mons where you think of when most people think of Shuckle, they think of that power swap, that set that rolled around for a while there, power swap sets. It's just one of those mons where you just don't anticipate. You can't anticipate to what it can do. And then you look at the move pool. You look at its ability to recover with its own moves. Like you had said, it's got Draining Kiss. I mean, it's got a little bit of everything, and now that it has access to Meteor Beam, I mean, you got to really like again. I know when you look at our draft is kind of we got some lopsided. We got some holes, right? We know what our holes are, but it's you look at what Dancy can do to cover those holes in Terra with Terra, and it's a lot. And the other side of it is too is with Guzzlord, right? You see both on our team in a preview, for example. I'm just referencing. You see because obviously it had to be the scenario where they both fit. But you see them, and they both don't need to Terra. The fact that also another key factor is Diancie is one of several of our mons that has both screens. It has the dual screen attribute. Now it's no Aurora Veil, but it is easy enough to have light screen and reflect, toss on a light clay, walk away for a day, and put up mystical fire, and then Diancie's just sitting there doing things.
Absolutely, I think the mythical fire is a big buff. I think it lost it in Gen 8, I believe. Which is a big loss factor for it, I think, for a lot of things. It was the same factor, I think, for Sylveon. Of course, Sylveon had a bigger nerf with that, but Mythical Fire really does make this mon also, of course, like how Okami said, very good defensively and an annoying factor, but also offensively that even if we Mythical Fire into a mon that we know won't do much damage, it's still the factor that we get that 100% special attack drop, which is a really nice move for that. Making a lot of things really easy to set up, even on switch-ins.
Yeah, there's another thing too, King, to take into fact is if we're taking it off week and not running Tapu Fini, or we're waiting for the Misty to train to peter out, this mono also gets Scorching Sands. I mean, it's another variable in Diancie that I love is the fact that it's a rock fairy that has Gyro Ball, Flash Cannon, Scorching Sands, and Earth Power. I mean, those moves are what it's weak to, but yet it learns them.
Yeah.
It is a best of both worlds mon. It has the Psychic. It has Power Gem. When you said it, you look at the move pool, you think about it for a minute, and then you tell yourself it has Terra, and it's like the stars align, and that's what I agree with you. It's a steal at where we got it. We sniped several people. I think the Archaladon pick might have been. I want to say. I think that a lot of people were also, like you and I had talked, were surprised it made it as far as it did, because we saw in the chat people were really, really upset that we got Archaladon, because I think people were expecting it to come back around. So.
Yeah, I also feel like we sniped multiple rain teams. You and me both were talking about it during drafting, but there was like two teams that looked like they could add Polytoad or Pelipper, and we would not be shocked at all. And honestly, they probably would have if they got Arch. So we also probably saved multiple people from dealing with rain and not dealing with
Yeah.
Swift Swim. So I don't think I also, yet again, doing draft analysis really helped with this. Kind of realized we're kind of making a little bit of a trick room team. Like we can run very much slow arch, and then boom, we kind of had a hard trick room team with some of our picks, and then we have a Scarf Fish out of nowhere.
Yeah, the only thing we would need, which is the one thing that I'm gonna, like I said, I know we had it, but when we get to some of the other picks we had, but we have our turn core is a little weaker than I would prefer. I'm as you know from our last draft, I like to have quite a few moms that have the access to flip turn, U turn, or full switch. But I think with the pressure we have and the reliable recovery we do have by switching from a turn core to a regen core, I think that it covers those bases and add some well needed assurances that we don't have that we do have now. I think that both of us, the playstyle we both know, I think that the team encompasses that, and I think a regen core honestly fits better.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Deancey is, like you had said, I do feel Deancey is probably the best fit we could have got for what we ended up with. Obviously, because we got, and that's one factor too that I think the chat needs to know is we got sniped 3 mons back to back.
Yes, that was a
And
big hit. Cause that was also, I think, wasn't, yeah, all three of those mine had momentum, I believe. So we didn't have a
yeah,
momentum problem until after we got sniped.
yep.
But
So because we had gone tried to go for like I said the beginning of the Zora and it got sniped pretty early on. Or later on after this next pick, which we'll get into here momentarily, but after this next pick, we went on a getting sniped spree, and it was painful to watch every pick that you had hoped for get taken one by one.
yeah,
Um,
I think after also realization from both of my perspective, there was probably times where we could have probably hold on some of my picks, like Guzzlord went through it a little bit, probably a shock to most people. We wanted to play safe, of course, so I'm not upset with our picks in the order we picked them in at all. We could have got sniped for every single pick, but this six was, or this, I think five actually, this five is just a very comfortable five, I think, for both of us, and
yeah, exactly. Even with the next pick being, if do you want to go ahead and get into the next pick real quick?
sure, I think that's our final
Yeah.
Terror Captain, yeah?
Yes, this is the final Terror Captain.
Yeah.
We went with this is one of the Terror Captains. I'll let you announce the bubble up, but I'll explain how the C tier works. So this is one of our C tier picks. How the C tier works is you have to have the main stab of the Pokemon, and then you get to pick one free Terra for it. So it's not free Terra. It has to be a Terra that we announce out and say this is our Terra, and we can't switch it. So this is the permanent Terras for this Pokemon, and I'll let King introduce the legend himself.
Yep. Most people know this guy from me because I very recently changed my whole logo and my team name to it. We picked up one of my favorite ones of all time, Entei. Um, and like how Okami said it, we only get 2 Terra types for this month, which does kind of sound a little more upsetting, especially compared to the free Terra Diancie and Guzzlord. However, when you really think about it, Entei really just needs fire, and the other typing we chose normal for the extreme speeds. We of course, could have done like ground, which was another great pick. I do think normal is going to give us more valuable, throughout the season. But also, yet again, it's just one of these factors, just kind of like a lot of mons that kind of have this factor of like in Rock Dust. It just loves to run that Terra Rock and that Terra Fighting. It wants those stabs, and that's all it wants. And Entei is no different from that. If anything, I think Entei probably wants those more. Like, Terra Normal E-Speed is just absolutely insane with this mon. Look at this crazy stat board. It doesn't have one bad stat at all. The only problem we can kind of complain about is base 115 attack stat, which is still, like, it's not much to complain about, because it's still a very high attack stat, but sometimes you do want to wish for more. But I mean, it's gonna be very obvious what we're gonna run. We're gonna run Sacred Fire. We're gonna run Extreme Speed. This mon is kind of one-dimensional in a way, mainly because of its move pool. It is a offensive physical piece. However, it does get a lot of special moves and even stuff like Calm Mind, but also its physical side was kind of lacking for a very long time. Just till this gen, I believe. Yeah, this was the very first gen where it finally got a ground move besides Bulldoze, which I've been screaming about to anyone in any situation that why the fuck did Entei not get Earthquake? But that's another discussion that I could talk about for hours. But another last thing I should mention before I should let Okami talk, the other person here, is that this mon gets amazing move pool for what it's weak to specifically. Um, the only one, of course, being that kind of like water typing, um, which is kind of annoying. However, it did recently get Trailblaze, and um, I could do a little spoiler. In a low tier draft I'm in, I got Entei, and I'm not gonna lie, Trailblaze is actually really great hitting these water types. They hit incredibly hard, and now you are just incredibly fast. And with that addition, the very basic set becomes a very basic set that is incredibly annoying and difficult to deal with. Just adding two simple moves. Of course, also the last thing. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, Okami. The last thing is
It's all
that
good. It's all good.
we don't have to worry about. Well, we should worry about, but not as much is Vax. Of course, we don't have to deal with that 25% if we become Terra normal. So
No, I think you hit that right. That's because I was the original person to advocate for the Terra Ground. And the only reason why I thought about Terra Ground is because I knew Entei did not have Earthquake, and I do agree with King. I think Entei kind of wants the Earthquake. I mean, it gets halfway there with Bulldoze, which I would argue that Bulldoze, when you see the move animation in the games, and then you see Earthquake makes more sense. I mean, it's a legendary dog. I mean, it's one of the pinnacles of the game. It's a legendary Pokemon. Why are we not giving it Earthquake? I do think Earthquake, if it got Earthquake, it would kind of set it into a different tier, different realm of its own.
absolutely.
But the other thing, what I like about Entei too is it's kind of your check and balance in a team that doesn't have a fire type yet. I mean it's like I'm not saying it's better than Arcanine. It just does some things that Arcanine can't. Yes, Arcanine gets Intimidate. They both have extreme speed. They both learn Flare Blitz. They both have Flame Charge. But Entei has, like King says, got Sacred Fire. I want a 50% chance to burn you, and I want a 50% chance to burn you on your water switch in. I also want, because Entei screams setup fodder, one thing that Entei has that all three of the dogs have is the Roar. I mean, it's nothing like getting swapped out by Roar. The other thing Entei has is not that it has the greatest special attack, but it also has access to Eruption. It has access to Scorching Sands, but not Earthquake. Um, Had to throw that in there for you, King.
Thank you.
But just the utility behind the fact that it does have access. It doesn't have a status that buffs its attack, but it can Calm Mind. Just the things that Entei can do, even with Terra Normal. Now, if it got Boom Burst, you'd be talking Terra Normal for days, easy mode. But the Terra Normal extreme speeds are kind of what you think of when you think Entei. The other side of it too is that Entei does get Double Edge. It does get it would hit harder with the Crush Claw, and that's those things that why we selected Terra Normal. It's just the things that Entei wants to do and does better than Arcanine. Because Arcanine would be its segue. Arcanine has less attack, less speed. The other thing that Entei has is the ability Pressure. I mean, pressure is always good, even if you're not using him in a fashion that wants pressure to be brought. It has it. It's whittling down your PP on your moves, especially if you're trying to get the offensive pressure with the big hitters like Fire Blast, Hydro Pump, and whatnot. It's taking some of that down, which is essential. And he's a mon that you're prepping for as well, that you need to anticipate if we're going to decide to bring Toxic or Will-O-Wisp, because he also learns those, the key factors. He can burn things, and that's what you got to anticipate.
Yeah, I was actually just gonna talk about the pressure, so I'm glad you also know probably a little bit about it. I mean, you are a Suicune level, so it makes sense. But one thing that I kind of realized, especially in low tier, is that this mana actually does a pretty good job due to its kind of min-maxy bulky stats to be a really annoying pressure mon with like rest. With the Terra normal, we could be double edged, but we kind of can wall any physical attackers if we get that Sacred Fire burn possibly. Of course we get that voice, so we're not set up fodder still. We always have that toxic factor, and yet again, pressure does what pressure does install, and just completely shuts down certain mons eventually, sooner. But of course, we can't, not talk about inner focus with a mon that likes to sweep. With its new addition to Gen 8, which a lot of people love, especially in VGC, because I know this mon got an incredibly massive spike in VGC when Inner Focus got changed to being immune to Intimidate. This mon quite literally doesn't really have a great way to have a check. Yet again, just kind of like Vish, not as hardy hitting. Um, Stuff like even Resistance don't like taking these hits. And of course, yet again, normal only having one immunity is also really nice. And just kind of having a lot of neutral hits along with Sacred Fire is super nice. But the inner focus and just not being able to kind of be like intim stalled, which is something that I do remember dealing with a lot of other setup mons, which I bet also a lot of people have dealt with, like especially like a Gyarados. It's very annoying to deal with those stuff. But luckily, Anti doesn't have to deal with that.
Yeah, and then even if you do have the Gyarados coming in trying to expect, obviously the Gyarados before it comes in, it's going to know if you're pressure or not because it tells them you are. But even if the Gyarados comes in, even if you are -1, you still have the Gyarados is still going to have to stare down Stone Edge and hope that it has to be even -1 at max attack or even Jolly. The Gyarados is going to have some type of investment. Any flyer is going to have some. I'm going to rephrase that to any flyer is going to have some type of investment. And all you Corviknight lovers out there, I'm sorry, but it's just not going to be your day when Sacred Fire comes out.
Yeah, I'm a Corviknight lover myself. And I know that mon can't do it. Um,
Yes, I am a major. Corviknight is one of my. I'm not saying favorite, but one of my go-tos in draft.
Absolutely. I
Um,
used it in one draft, and people know on my channel how crazy I did with that. That mon just sits there and does way too much you kind of expect it to do.
yeah, exactly. That's the thing that what Corviknight has is kind of what you want in a mon like Corviknight or Archaludon. Is you know what it's going to do, and then when it does it and you can't stop it, it just makes you feel. I'm not gonna say bad, but it makes you feel like you didn't prep enough, even though you knew it was coming. So that's kind of why I like why I like Archaludon, why I like Deancey, why I like Entei is you know what they want to do, and they're either A, not going to do exactly what you're expecting and do something else, and B, you're going to be upset about it, or they're going to do exactly what you thought they were going to do, and it's just going to be you just fall apart. I mean, it happens to everybody, but it's
Absolutely.
just how are we gonna use them in the fashion that actually makes that happen? I know we probably will. I'm excited to see Entei do that. Obviously, we're going to talk about him, but I'm also excited to see our Chaladon do it. I'm excited to see DRACOVISH do it. I'm excited to see Deancey do it. Um, And I'm just, like I said, overall, like you said, with inner focus too, this is another cornerstone in why Entei is gonna Terra normal, do things, and not be able to be stopped. So
Absolutely. That's another thing that we should also probably mention about a draft is, of course, prepping is a big factor. Because most people on YouTube who ever watch videos don't see prepping. However, that's probably more. There's more time in prepping than actually doing the matches. And one thing that we got to kind of take into our team is that there's a lot of mons that just Okami, like he said, it's a mon that you expect, a mon you probably very expect coming. However, you might have thought you dealt with it, but you don't. It's just we have a lot of mons like that kind of like pretty much every mon can do that. And that's one thing that's really tough to build about teams. Like, yet again, there's always those one-dimensional mons like backs and all that stuff. You could make a whole list of one-dimensional mons that kind of just, do their job. But the fact that we have mons that kind of can change modes at any moment is very nice, not only for us prepping, but really annoying for opponents prepping, which I absolutely love building in teams.
Well, I mean, it's like what you said. Is I mean, when now that we're getting kind of closer to our next pick is we originally had thought Ziola was going to be kind of like the focus point. We waited to get him. We thought we could, and then after we had drafted Entei, we went on a spree of losing Ziola. We got sniped, and then the pick before Ziola got taken, we also had Vikavolt as one of our turn core. Nice levitate user with sticky webs got sniped. Then Ziola got sniped. Then 4 picks later, Reggie Ice also got sniped. We lost 3 of our. We had built the team. We had made it this far before getting sniped, and we took in one round a 3 loss, and we had to develop quickly, reassess. And I'm gonna let King introduce this next pick because this was him bringing on the idea. Originally, me pivoting and redeveloping the team to Ziola, and then him agreeing to it. We had a nice plan, and then we ended up going back to his pick. And it's a Mon that I have not used to success. I'm happy to have him on the team. I know what he can do, and I've lost to it. King, go ahead and introduce our 7th round pick here.
I'm really excited for this pick because also a lot of people from my channel know that I've been trying to grab this fucker ever since Gen 8, and I have still yet to use it. This is my first time using this guy. However, I've used this guy so much. We're using the best boy of all time. We're using Zamazenta Crown, which recently, very recently, have been kind of allowed in draft, and of course in Natdex it's been allowed, I think, for a little bit. But most people have now finally been dealing with this monster in draft, specifically in Gen 9. And I mean, we don't really have to say a lot about it when it has a base 700 stat board with an absolutely insane ability. But also, I mean, Okami probably is going to be really excited to use this as well. Of course, he said he hasn't had much. I don't know how many times he have used it, but it seems they didn't do well with it. But I think there's just a lot of possibilities with this one that kind of does a lot. And not to mention, when you look at our team, speed was really much a big factor. Like I said, we were kind of building a trickle team right here on accident. And Zamazenta very much counteracts that with the base 120 speed. It's not the crazy highest, like, Zero or something like that, but it still very much helps, and it's definitely going to make a lot of stuff, a lot of small stuff too, like Jolly Mons being ran more predominant against our team. But I mean, I think Okami should probably talk about what this Mon fully does, because he's used it. I haven't. I've been having dreams ever since this Mon came out about using it.
Yeah, so I just came off of 2 drafts actually having Zamazenta crowned, and I'm excited to have him on the team. And I'm gonna correct my statement. This is our 8th round pick, so we got this really late. What Zamazenta is going to be doing too is actually he was the center point of actually redeveloping our team because we originally had an A2 comp, which is the 3 Cs, 2 Ds. So we had to actually change our whole draft idea up on getting sniped from Ziora to a 2 or a A1 in the 2 Cs, 3 Ds. So, but Zamazenta, I mean, what more can I say? I mean, you have sets for days on this guy. Yes, he is a more physical, but don't discredit the fact that he could swap to a special set because he does have Dazzling Gleam. I mean, a lot of the sets that a mod like Zamazenta could do are alternate sets. I mean, he's another war. He guard swaps. I mean, if you're struggling with it, I mean, get it that you probably aren't going to be doing it because of Rusted Shield, but another option is if you actually are outspeeding mons and you're going to get hit by a special attack and you're primarily physical, or vice versa, primarily special defense, and you're about to get hit by a physical, you can guard swap. A very underrated move that got used against me, and I was not expecting it, and I got whittled down because toxic spikes were up, and Zamazenta just kept switching things around and getting wish passed. It's options. It's also another mod with light screen and reflect. It has flash cannon. I mean, it's got the moves you would want. It's got Behemoth Blade. It's got Behemoth Bash. I mean, it's its primary move. It's got body press, tail slap. It's got some things that are not really expected that it can run. The other thing that is what I used it for primarily is it's a wall. I mean, it's what you want in a wall. It thrives under when pressure is used against the enemy team to whittle it down. The one thing that a lot of people under anticipate about it is it's really good at altering the weather that's in front of you. Um, and with the altering of weather, the other thing it can do is if you're facing a weather team, not that we're going to be facing a lot, just stating out the facts, it has Imprison. Of all moves a mon like this can learn is Imprison. If only it got Stealth Rock. If it had Stealth Rock, this mon would be overpowered with Imprison, because you'd have Stealth Rock and Imprison and just stop rocks from getting laid up. Not that we're going to run Imprison, because Imprison in draft is kind of bad. But if you get it in prison right, and you come in on a mon with 2 of the 3 moves you have, i.e. body press, close combat, if you're running either of those sets and you're expecting it, especially since we have Guzzlord, that and Moonblast, so if you toss Moonblast on there, or any special moves, Moonblast, let's just say Moonblast Flash Cannon, because that can counter some of the mons on our team, and you run Imprison and then a filler move. That is actually oriented towards what it wants to do. You're potentially stopping attacks from happening, especially if their last mon is a banded or scarfed or specs mon, and you come in and toss up the Imprison, you've now created a struggle. And it's just the things that this mon could do, or why we picked it, or we could use it how it's intended in use the casual iron defense sets with body press, but this is a draft. It's intended to have fun, so we're gonna have some fun with it.
Absolutely. I want to bring this up because what I do while of course you're talking, or even when I'm talking, is I'll slowly go down all the moves and all that stuff for the people to see, and I just realized this fucker gets tail slap, which I know it's such a weird move to bring up, but like, why do they have to give another signature mon this move?
Why not? It's all about the moves. Why not aspect of it. Now we can't tear with it, which is fine. But if you could tear with it and go tear normal, that tail slap would be even better.
Yeah.
The other thing that's gonna be fun about it, we have quick attack too. So
Hell yeah, man! We don't need that base 120 speed when we got quick attack. Tear normal, we got a whole E-speed attack right there. One thing we should also, of course, very much do the elephant in the room. This one, of course, cannot run an item. It's forced to Rusted Shield. This is not the regular form, but you cannot have the other form. You can only have Crown, which is one of the factors that people think about when they draft this mon, or the reason why they don't even draft this mon, is that you can't run an item. It's the same effect as the Ogerpon. So that's like Scarf is now very predominant into our team, mainly because they can very much freely run Scarf, and we can't counteract it, really. Of course, besides if we get, like, an agility up or something like that. But of course, I mean, the shield does give this mon a big buff, especially due to that fighting steel typing is very amazing. There's really only one typing I could say can really counter this mon, which is steel flying. So, fuck Corviknight. But, I mean, like, even, there's not really much mons that really can come in on a fighting steel stab moves, of course, let alone this Amon's absolutely amazing move pool. Like, I don't really see a move that it doesn't really get, except something like a fire move or an electric move, which you would probably, of course, prefer. But besides that, this is a mon that kind of course, how Okami said it, can be very defensive, but also just an offensive mon is just very present right here.
yeah, don't forget it does get Fire Fang, and it does get Thunder Fang. The other thing too that I noticed that's kind of weird that it does have. Not saying obviously I'm not a big proponent of the waiting to turn moves, but it does have Dig. I mean, it's another one of those things where it's a mon that it can do a lot in the beginning of a match, but also if their last mon is a physical mon, you pretty much seal the deal with a mon like Zamazenta, and that's why I like Zamazenta. So that's why when I used him couple months ago in the last league I was in, is the nickname I kept giving him was the closer, because that's what he does. He closes out matches, but also you can be called the closer and just start the match off really strong by chipping things down, because it does have a very high base attack as well with the 120.
Yeah, I definitely do see that being a possibility very much with this mon. It kind of has the opposite effect of kind of like endgame mons like Spectre and all that stuff, where it's like you know this mon's about to come in the endgame and kind of just pretty much end the game on the spot once you get to that position. Mainly because they would come in and sweep you. However, the Omnimentor kind of does the opposite. He kind of has the toxic effect where you can. It's just like if you only have those visual attackers left, you can kind of just completely end the game basically by saying, "Hey, you can't do anything to me." Um, which of course we should definitely talk about its ability. We haven't even said what it does, but I think most people should know. You get a +1 defense boost, which is why body press is very predominant with this mon, because you basically have a +1 attack boost instantly to this mon. Of course, with that base 140 defense stat. And that's also why the mon can close endgame. Not even due to its crazy stats, but if we haven't sent it out yet and we still have that defense boost, we really can just completely close the game if it's a defensive mon less.
Exactly. So, like I said, it's a closer, but doesn't need to be a closer. It's just a matter of like it is with booster energy. It says when you're going to use it and how you're going to use it.
Mm-hmm.
And I have no issue with how we have the team oriented. To obviously even with why when we reorganize the team up, I mean it explains why we picked our next pick too. Is the next pick, it resonates with that's Feeney, because Feeney again supports Tapu Feeney supports Zamazenta in a great way by adding to the fire resistance, right? The other side of this is in our next pick that we're going to get to here is it's like he said, the Flying Steel. Our next mon that we picked, it looks at Flying Steel and says okay. But the other thing too is to remember with Zamazenta is if you're facing a Corviknight, don't forget you have Roar. So
Absolutely, yeah. Another thing that I was just, I'm so sad. I was just about to bring this up, and then I'm so glad I mean, I'm bringing it up either way, I guess. So you're gonna know I'm an idiot. But I'm like, hey man, I know you're talking about Dig, but we can run Power Hub Dig, and I realize this motherfucker can't run an item. So that doesn't make much sense there. But if only we could run that.
yeah, but like I said, Dig is just an option to delay a turn, right? If Dig is good if you got someone who's poisoned in front of you or faster. That's where Dig is good because it's a better protect.
Yes, absolutely. Another thing, of course, we should also just say, we've talked about the bulk, we've talked about the offense, we talked about how this mon closes. We haven't really just, of course, we should be kind of known, this mon is pretty much impossible to kind of just kill easily. I've never, and I mean, like, maybe this is possibly just luck or something, but I've never seen someone very easily deal with Zamazenta before. It just has bulk.
Oh yeah, exactly. No, I agree with you. And the other side of it is someone's taken it out. They've had to set up, and if they're trying to set up, they're gonna have to set up in front of it. And they're gonna have to set up in front of one of our other many roaring mons that have capabilities. It's like when we go back to looking at Entei, is a lot of times Entei is typically used as setup fodder, but it's just how you anticipate the battle. You gotta look at what's in front of you, look what you're facing, and how are you gonna use X, Y, and Z to accomplish that. And Zamazenta is a mon, to your point, that just cannot be KO'd straight out the bat on a physical aspect. Yeah, maybe on the special side it could be KO'd, but also when you look at Zamazenta with the three color fangs, I mean you gotta anticipate. Not to mention it also has the Trailblaze like Entei does, so it's got options, many options, minus the item. The item, not being able to hold the item, is a weakness, but it's a weakness that's surpassed by the buff it gets when it comes in that first time. So
yes, and honestly, we kind of have to give kudos to the item, mainly because that's the main reason why I think this mon's allowed in draft, and why the other form isn't most of the time. This mon with an item would just completely destroy everything. Especially
everybody would run weakness policy. Yeah, everyone would run weakness policy on it.
Even regular Zama. I know regular Zama is kind of known to be the most busted mon when it's allowed, just because of the fact that it can run any item, which is such a strong ability for such an offensive, bulky mon. So.
Oh yeah, and the one thing too is why I waited to get here is you had mentioned our knockoff weakness. It's Zamazenta comes in and says, okay, it knocked me off because I just got a +1 and it doesn't matter. You're going to do 1 to 2% to me.
Absolutely.
And then I'm here to stay, and you're gonna let me set up, or you're gonna let me hit you. And that's another reason why when we reorganized to Zamazenta, I was comfortable with it. And then the picks, obviously there's not many picks left. Him being 8, we only have 4 remaining picks. But we did some changes to our draft. And I mean, are you ready to move on from Zamazenta? Go to the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So moving on to the next pick after Zamazenta, this is a pick that I am. The more I look at it and the more I think about it, because I just faced this mono low tier and it didn't do much, but that's because I had Arctovish, and Arctovish is, like I said, with these Vishmons, like I said, they just do a lot of work. But our next mon was Gligar, the Gen 3 legend himself, one of the hardest captures in my opinion from Gen 3. Also, let's be honest, the Scorpion King. I know Gliscor is the Scorpion King, and this may not be a Scorpion, but I'm going to call it a Scorpion because I can. This is the Flying Crab. This is the Hypercutting Immunity Sandveil user that everybody wants on a team, but doesn't expect on the team. This mon is an NFE mon, and in my opinion, with Eviolite, becomes a powerhouse. I mean, yeah, not that Eviolite is the sole reason why you'd want to use Gliscor, but Gliscor gives us some options with other mons that we have in our team. Right? It gives us options. It has access to the Stealth Rock. It has access to Defog. It has access to Spikes. It's got access to everything you could want and more. And it's got access to Lunge, so it can make the bulk it already has a little bit stronger. I mean, it's got access to everything Gliscor has, minus not having Toxic Heal. If I had Toxic Heal, this would definitely be probably, I would say, D tier mon, but
yeah, I was talking about this with Okami, and what you guys will probably see soon, because I'll probably upload it soon, is that not only have used Gligar before, but this mon is very bulky. This mon is incredibly bulky, and I told Okami I was able to wall a Mega Charizard X with this mon. It's really surprising when you say stuff like that with such a low tier pick, but it's with Eviolite, it's very nice. And this mon, I do gotta say, does such an incredible job at what it wants to for an entire team. It just has so many cores. It's very nice with the knockoff with Zamazenta, because now we can run more knockoff mons with Zamazenta. Because we're not going to be fully threatened, because if people want to give us a free switch into Zamazenta, we'll gladly take it. But also the fact that we put less pressure on defensive Diancie, which is like, it wants to cook those rocks, it want to get the spikes up. Now, Gligar can do that job and put less pressure on Diancie, and maybe give Diancie either one of those jobs, or just give it more freeway to be whatever it wants to. And of course, the very big one, which any region team hates, or any region mon hates, is Toxic. And we have Immunity, so now we have an even better core right there. Of course, that Ice weakness they share is not great. However, the fact that we can kind of just eat up Toxics are just super nice for this team, especially stuff like Guz and Arch, and not Arch, sorry, Tangrowth. It's just really nice, because yet again, most ways people probably want to deal with this team, it's just Toxic us away. Just no one's really gonna like dealing with this whole team. And then, like Okami said, it got Defog back, it got Roost back. This mon had a lot of longevity, and just like Gliscor does, it has knockoff, it has an absolutely amazing move pool. It even has some weird moves like Crab Hammer, which gives it coverage. Yeah.
yeah, no, it's one of those gap fillers too that we need. It's got access to Earthquake as well. It's got access to I forgot to mention. I know I said Spikes and Stealth Rock, but also has access to Toxic Spikes. Mm-hmm. I mean, it doesn't take away from the fact that it can get all these things. But like even if you're trying to run a more offensive version, I mean, you can run the Cross Poison Tech. It has access to Breaking Swipe, which is an underrated move in my opinion, because it does. If you're facing down a dragon that you're not sure, like you said, with the Charizard X, I mean, this mon can resist most of its moves, just taking them in the face and then hit him with a Breaking Swipe. And now Charizard's -1 and took a super effective hit. I mean, it's just things like that this thing offers to the table. The other side of it too that it offers is that turn utility that it has as a mon that comes in, lays a spike, sees something scary, outspeeds it, because base 85 isn't slow, can swap out, come back in and heal up on something that it may resist. Which is great in a mon that you are using as your hazard setter, or even as a check to a mon that may or may not come in. The other side of it too is it's not that you want to run it, excuse me for yawning, but it also has access to Skeeter Smack, which is another underrated move. These are underrated moves that just check mons coming in, and it's a free move that you need to use that reduces attack or in this case special attack by potentially hitting things for super effective damage and then reducing it. And then, you know, obviously like Gliscor, it does get scale shot.
Yes, I have. I've used Gliscor and I'm now using Gligar, and I've still yet to use Scale Shot, which I'm a little upsetty spaghetti. I don't know why I said that. A little upset with. I think this mon, yet again, just like most of our bulk mons, it still doesn't need to be underestimated with its attack stat, and yet again the great move pool. It can very much just hit very hard. That's the main reason why it was my try the dex check. Like it was just the fact that it hits really hard into teams, especially with that earthquake. Of course, this also gives us a nice electric immunity, which helps Feeny out. The other thing that's also, oh no, I forgot. Why? Help me, Okami. I know you don't know what I was gonna say, but help my brain. Oh, thank God. One team I was lacking was we had no momentum, at all. Currently.
Yep.
So this helps us a little bit with that. I mean, one momentum on doesn't, really help that much. But it helps slowly build to that process, and yeah, just even that small little thing of just U-turn for our team was really nice. So.
Yeah, no, and I would, personally, Gliscor is obviously, I think, in some cases you'd prefer it, and I've used Gliscor a lot, and like I said, Gliscor has, the one thing going for it with it, which is the toxic or poison heal, excuse me. But the one thing that Gligar has over Gliscor is the fact that, yeah, if you're facing the Gliscor user, there's a good chance he's gonna try to run the Protect on it, which we're not going to be running. So we could fill that with, setup, or we could fill it with Ice Fang, or we could fill it with, knockoff. So he can't even set it up if he's not trying to run the Protect set. The other options we do have are that, if we're fighting a Gliscor, we're going to be trying to figure out a way to take it down. And I think that in most cases, depending on what you're looking at, I mean, Gligar, in most turns of the fact, could probably be Gliscor, depending obviously on how you've prepped and if you're going immunity, because then you can't be toxic, and then Gliscor is just trying to outbeat you with damage, and take it from there. But again, you could run the coverage move of being the Ice Fang, or run your if not that we could run it in draft, but be so bold to run the Guillotine set.
Yeah, another set that I actually really love, which is a weird set, definitely for sure, especially for a mon that you kind of would rely bulk on. I guess this is like a good surprise factor that I have ran before and I've seen success, mainly because I don't know, it's such a thing that you would really not expect, but also really hurts the person, is you can bait a knockoff, get an SD off, and now you know item with acrobatics +2. So now you were this really bulky mon, but now you're not. Which is such a weird thing to say, but I have used this like multiple times in mocks and even real battles, and it has worked so well. Mainly just because that's one of the big factors of Gligar, or at least big weaknesses for Gligar, is of course if you get rid of that Eviolite, a lot of the themes we talked about with bulk and all that stuff just kind of go away. Don't get me wrong, he still has the good stats, like that 105 defense is good. However, it won't be try that X walling good. But it's just one of those things where, just because of at least for offensive pressure, I also really love. I don't know why. You guys could probably see the weird benefactors of Okami talking about the defensive and me talking for an offensive about a Gligar, but hey,
Gligar's no slouch. I mean, like you said, I mean, you don't even have to. If they're assuming Eviolite and you don't run Eviolite and you're running max the opposite. It's like, let's say you're running an adamant Gligar, and you're running it in a fashion where you're trying to bait the knockoff to get rid of your Eviolite, and then you get knocked off into Salic Berry range for whatever reason. I mean, you toss a Salic Berry on, and a knockoff is probably going to bring you down to the point to where Salic Berry is popping, and you just got a free SD to your point, and then you just start the game of how many months can I take out before one outspeeds me or checks me with a priority move. I mean, yeah, Gligar is a weaker mon without the Eviolite, but Eviolite doesn't need to be the end all be all. It just needs to be an option. You know what I mean? I like what I like about Gligar is that. Plus, it's got Hyper Cutter. I mean, if you're running that bold move, you can't be lowered after you've SD'd. So now they're playing the game of how many sacrifices to Earthquake or, like you had said, acrobatics am I going to be doing? Because A, Salic Berry gets us from running any type of speed agility on it, which it does learn, but then we could fill it with, SD, acrobatics, earthquake, and, filler. Whether it be knockoff, poison jab, gunk shot, crab hammer. If it got close combat for whatever reason, not that this menace needs close combat. The other side of it too is why not, if someone does swap in a dark type, to try to do, quick draw damage or whatever, like your Umbreon, you just run the U-turn, knowing that you're just going to use it as fodder, and just roll the U-turn ×2, and you've claimed a kill. I mean, because none of the moves none of those +2 are going to kill a thick wall, a good thick Umbreon. Not that Umbreon got picked, but just stating.
Yeah, I think another reason why I brought up the SD set was because one thing that I know a lot of people run in Draft League, at least for Gliscor, is like you usually, like, how you said, you usually expect the Protect, you expect the Toxic Web. One thing that people like to run, at least I've seen from skilled players, I'm not saying that non-skilled players do it, but one thing I've seen at least more predominant with them is that they like to run no item and yet again the acrobatics, even with no SD, just because Gliscor hits that hard. So I just kind of want to bring that up because Gligar can very much do the same thing. If anything, maybe even a little better, because yet again, if you could like have a Gliscor with Poison Heal, but yet again knock off that would have been absolutely best case scenario, and Gligar can actually kind of get away with that in most circumstances.
Yeah, no, I agree with you for sure. And well, I guess we'll go on to a mon that our 10th round pick here is a mon that I am really excited to use. I'll let you call it out. I'm pretty sure you're picking up who I'm laying down. It's our other grass type, who, if it had body press, would be far better than it shows on a move pool wise. I think this mon is very underrated. Again, it's another screens mon, but I'll let you go ahead and let the people know who our 10th round pick is.
We wanted to also finish up our Regen Core, and it's pretty hard not taking this in the E tier. We picked up Eldegoss. How do you say Eldegoss? Eldegoss? There's no L there. Whatever. Eldegoss.
It's Eldegoss. Yeah, you had it right. Yeah, Eldegoss.
This mon, yet again, fills that regenerator hole. So now we have this Regen Core, which just absolutely is everyone's favorite thing to deal with. Everyone, so many people in Draft League totally love dealing with that. Totally not a big hatred thing. But this mon is a very great cleric and support for our team. Does it get heal bell, honestly? Or
as aromatherapy, yeah.
Which is super nice for a team, especially yet again with the Regen Core. We do have 2 steel types, of course, that likes to eat toxics. However, if we for some reason don't bring them, I don't know what world we won't bring either or. But if we don't, we could very much run that and get rid of that toxic effect, which is really nice. Another thing that's really nice about Eldegoss is, and the main reason why I really I know Okami could definitely account, because I was talking about Eldegoss ever since like tier 2, I think, like pick 2, I think, or something like that. I kept bringing him up. And it was because of it is now the special version of Tangos. Tangos is a physical regen mon with that base 125, and now Eldegoss is a base 120 spread F mon. So now we basically have kind of not of course the same mon, but a mon that can do the exact same purpose, but now for the opposite side, which is something that's just truly amazing in draft because that's something that you usually don't think about. Of course, it's like, oh yeah, I drafted this regen mon or this bulky mon, but of course you don't take into account for like a really offensive special attacker when the other mon was of course like physically bulky. So the fact that we can kind of just go back and forth with both our regen mons with this is super nice.
Yeah, no, I thoroughly agree. And another thing that Eldegoss does too that nothing else really does is Cotton Spore. You can reduce the enemy's speed by 2. The other thing it has that I really like, and I wish that, I get why it makes sense why it's E, but it gets Cotton Guard, which is a +3 uh, juice, and you think about it and you really look at the factors behind having a 120 base special defense, and then you look at the defense it has, and you +3 that, and you don't even need to run the defensive bulk, and you got a big mon in front of you. Especially if people aren't, like I said, if people gotta appreciate what Eldegoss is trying to do. If you switch to try to, take down Eldegoss, and you switch into Cotton Guard, and then now you gotta face down Leech Seed, or if we're not running Feeny and we had Toxic Spikes up, this mon is gonna sit there in front of you and just wait. Not to mention it also, if we're not running the regen core, it gets Effect Spore and Cotton Down, both which are like, go ahead and hit me and see what happens.
Yeah, I really love Cotton Down. I've been using that with Guja recently, which of course Guja doesn't have as much like as great as abilities to deal with. Like something you can run more often, but just the fact that you can lower a speed, especially with this team where we kind of lack speed control, is really nice for a mon. I could very much see us, not surprisingly, like bring this mon and bring more cotton down sets and regen sets because of just weird factors like that, or just like setup factors like that. Like a cotton down basically into Dracovish is just a free kill for us every single time, which is something to think about, you know.
Well, yeah, exactly. No, and to even elaborate on that a little bit more too is the one thing that, when you look at, yes, Eldegoss is going to be a cleric. Eldegoss is a disruption. She wants to disrupt the team. The other thing, if we're down bad, Eldegoss is a free out. Eldegoss's sole job can be come in with con down, rapid spin, get away the hazards, die, and have, like you said, Vish come in and just claim a kill. And for that matter, it did its job by getting rid of the hazards and then reducing the speed and allowing other mons to thrive. And that's that role of the support role. The other thing too, that not to forget, that is if you're down real bad and you can't clear the sticky webs or hazards from you, you could always run Endure and just reduce the speed ×2. And that way, yeah, great, you have webs up, but now you're -2, and my -1 is going to come in and claim that kill. It just fills some holes that are missing on our team, and I think it fills it well too. I mean, it doesn't need to. It's not going to be in here to, chuck big hits off. I mean, it has a nice 90 base special attack that it can work with, but it's there to disrupt and it's there to, help the team. I mean, there's nothing wrong with trying to go for charm spam. So.
Yeah, another thing that I kind of like about this mon, is that it kind of, with at least with the cotton down set specifically, it does have a very nice kind of anti sweep effect. Where of course, if a mon wants to like dragon dance up or SD up in front of this, we could very much just click like Leech Seed, and then if they attack us, they're now -1 with Leech Seed, and they're basically heavily crippled already. That's still not taking account of our other moves. Like, we could very much be Cotton Guard, and if it's a physical mon, we kind of just wall it, and now we have, like, this really slow mon against our very fast Eldegoss. The Rapid Spin is also very nice. Of course, we do have Feeny. I would say probably, with Heavy Duty Boots, debatably is probably the best defogger. Of course, I mean, this stuff like Corv and all that stuff on around, but I think Feeny with viability and with heavy is kind of possibly the best defogger, so we might not get as much profit for a hazard removal for LD Gloss, but it's still a factor that we can kind of keep, especially if we need a backup hazard removal, if we have something like Feeny doing too much. that's something that's very nice for this mon. And then of course we still have that set that everyone loves using in draft. Of course the leech seed substitute sets, everyone loves using that. And of course now LD Glossy Regenerator Mon can use it, which is very nice.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if we roll that out one of these weeks.
I don't think our opponents would be surprised either, honestly. I see.
Yeah, I mean the proof pool is kind of limited on it, but again, Elder God has its two jobs: get rid of hazards and disrupt the team, and it does it well.
Yeah, I'm one thing I wish this mon. I mean, you said it. One thing I wish this mon got with body press. It would have been such a fun mon and such a strong mon in that actually. Like it definitely would have been not in the E tier if it got body press, but.
Well, that's one of the suggestions Game Freak should do. Is body press is a fighting move, but why not give it a grass move or a bug move or a fairy move that's a version of body press that goes off the defense, but is a different type. I mean, this mon, yeah, if you want to keep it limited, give it a grass move that goes off defense. You know.
Yeah, we'll still.
I don't know what you'd call it. call it pedal armor smash. I don't know.
It's I definitely think this mon of course that the big hindrance is its move pool. Like Okami has been saying, it definitely had a very sometimes one dimensional move pool, and sometimes honestly people can probably guess our exact 4 moves if they just know what set we're running. Like if they see Leech Seed or if they see Cotton Guard, they kind of know that we're gonna be more of an annoyance. Not very like a come in and get out set. But I still think this mon gets a lot of profit, especially for this team.
Oh yeah, for sure. I do agree with you. I mean, you could always run the Worry Seed tech if you really need to change the ability if you're getting overwhelmed by something.
Very true. I think we should now talk about our next pick, which joins on that regen core. And yet again, I don't mind that doesn't like knockoff. I don't know. We keep doing that now. Looking at it, hey, it's whatever.
Yeah, I think these last 2 picks here are not fans of knockoff, but
this next pick is our last E-tier pick, and honestly, probably get more profit than our other pick, our last pick, mainly because it is a very predominant low tier pick. Kind of always been in draft. It's Duosion. I think this mon has been very common, especially the low point mon in draft, like kind of ever since it's been in Gen 5 pretty much. It has such a great stat pool for being a middle stage. And yet again, that Eviolite is just so nice. It makes this mon with this base 125 special attack now have a really great defense and speed F stat. And we all know Reuniclus, it gets a great move pool. Y'all know what I can do with Reuniclus. Okami knows what to do with Reuniclus. It's gonna be very nice.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, it's the Eviolite set. Yeah, you're missing out on potential leftovers, but you have it has with the Eviolite, it has, I would say, some of the best abilities that for a second stage to have with the Eviolite. It has several key abilities: Overcoat, Magic Guard, and Regenerator. Like you said, this is the final piece to our regen core. I mean, it's going to, if there's no knockoff, it's going to come in a lot. Yeah. It's going to do things a lot. It fulfills a disruptor role. It fulfills a setup role. It fills a pause and wait a minute role. It can acid armor up in your face and just run Nightshade and recover and just sit there and click 3 buttons over and over and over again. It could set up in your face and Calm Mind and Iron Defense or excuse me, not Iron Defense, but Acid Armor, and then you're catching stored powers. I mean, it does a lot for the value it had. I mean, even if you were to run since it's not affected by it, a Toxic Orb or a Flame Orb, you could run it with Trick. I mean, you have a lot of options. But the one option that I really like that it has that I've not seen used a lot is Thunder Wave. So it does, like I said, it's just another, nothing special, but it's just another item And then it is also another mon that has, noticing a trend here, has the reflect and light screen capabilities.
Yes, I was just about to bring that up. I do gotta give kudos to both of us with this, is that I think we made a team that doesn't like knockoff, but yet doesn't want to be knocked off. So we do kind of get a lot of very nice factors of that. We also another thing that we kind of should have also said is not said, but another thing that we've done pretty well is that we have a team that, of course, Legion cores hate toxic, but we have a very, you don't want to click toxic into this team because you get these very scary threats in, or just a mon like this with Magic Guide where we just don't give a shit about toxic whatsoever, and now you just wasted a turn. And of course, I mean, most players know how important a turn can be, but also with Feuniclus or Derosion in front of you, could be very devastating. Okami said, Thunderwave screen set is such an amazing set. It also gets Encore. Slow Encore is something that I know most people don't like in draft, but I like a lot in draft. And it also, I mean, it does have a great move pool. It doesn't have the best move pool, I would say, but it does get great coverage for what we need, and sometimes if it's something like awkward, like, I don't know, even weird stuff like Mega Swampert, because Megas are allowed in this. Spoiler, we don't have a Mega. We can run like something like Energy Ball for something like that. It's a really nice move pool for that specific reason. But yet again, I do think the offensive Nightshade is going to be very nice. Or stored power sets. We can also be very, very surprise factor and be like a life orb set with Magic Guard, and even be weird and bring like Trick Room, because yet again our team kind of likes Trick Room. Some of them, that is, of course. Tangros, Guzzlord, Diancie, they all love this Trick Room, so we can make a very Trick Room heavy team, and this mon can actually get a lot of profit for it in both ways, which is very nice. But yeah, I think honestly Okami did some spot on job on kind of talking about how kind of great it is on both sides, but mainly the defensive side, especially for our team. Of course, another thing that's I kind of like more for some reason sometimes is, at least when it's an Eviolite mon, is Pain Split over Recover. Mainly because you kind of just keep annoying your target. Like if we get a Thunder Wave off and then now have more HP than our opponent because we Pain Split it, it's just something that's really nice that I love.
Oh yeah, no, and I think that if we ever face weather too, I think Devotion is going to be a really key factor in the win against a weather team, because, like you said, it's got Pain Split, it's got Protect, it's got an Eviolite on it, it's got all the things you would want in a mon that's going to disrupt the weather team. It just does. It does a lot of everything. It's a very situational mon in the sense that it's because we have to run the Eviolite is the only reason why I give it a situational tag, but it also has, don't forget, it also has some other fun moves that also allude to itself. I mean, it has the Confuse Ray, not that we're going to run it, it's got options available to it. You know, it's got the Acid Armor, Iron Defense, whichever one you want. It's also got Infestation too, so, you know, against your weather teams, I know that there will be times where we face against a weather team. It's got everything you want too. It can Infestation, and you just sit there and waste the turns for weather, and that's what a lot of teams don't like. The other side too is if we really want to get creative with them, is we can ability swap them away and take their ability and just give them, you know, something we don't really need, like an overcode or whatever. You know, again, not that we're going to run it, it's just an option it has. That it can do. It's got a lot it can do at a stage 2 mon. It's got a lot of things it can do. I really like the idea of coming in on something, watching it set up in front of you, and then all of a sudden you're using Psych Up. And the fact that it has it makes it beneficial.
Yeah, I really love this mon as a low point mon. I think it was one of the first ones I brought up. Besides, I think it was like Elder Gloss, and it was honestly I brought up a lot of low point mons, huh? You know what?
Yeah, Delusion, when we originally talked about the regen core, Delusion, you brought up Delusion a lot,
yeah.
And we had already, because we had around the time we had talked about Vish and Tapo Fini, we did not have our Chaladon originally in the scope. We had Guzzlord, and Eldegoss kind of locked in already as our some low point mons because we were thinking, hey, we can have a U-turn core into a regen core, but then we obviously we got sniped a bunch, being Vikavolt being kind of like the start. And we pivoted into a full regen core, and then Delusion was added. I think that, to King's point, I mean, the love behind this mon is well deserved, as it does everything it's saying it's going to do, and it does it well, which is awesome. And like you said, E tier mon. You couldn't ask for a better one, especially with no psychic Pokemon on our team. We did draft 2 back to back, but
Yeah, we definitely, honestly, looking at on our opponent's side, like looking at our drafts, we were very heavy, like, hey, come knock off us, and then we did, hey, never mind, don't do that anymore, and then we kind of went back to, come knock off us again, and we dropped a lot of that. But yeah,
yeah, but I still think we'll be fine though. I mean, even if yes, our team screams the "Hey, come knock us off," but then they're like, "Okay, I'm gonna bring my, Crocodile in, or I'm gonna bring my, um, pick your poison, right? If he wants to go stab out with the Dark type, or if he wants to go just to offshoot, it's like, okay, we know the knockoff's coming. Zamazenta's like, all right, I'm coming in now,
absolutely.
or Feeney's, I'm coming in now, or Deancey's, I'm coming in now.
That's why I think another thing was with Samazenta was I love so much about this team, kind of more than Zero Aura, is that like if for instance Zero Aura would not have been able to take those knockoffs. That means I feel like we would have relied more onto Tapu Fini in that circumstances, which could have been really tough for Tapu Fini in a lot of circumstances. But Zamazenta really does fit really well with that, especially if we have a very non aggressive set or non like one time come in set that we can just kind of bring it in anytime we want to, which is very nice with this team.
Oh, for sure.
I think another thing is why Duosion. I think Duosion gets so much love just like the Wacky does. It's a mon that is like, it's the slow tier point mon. You don't really expect it to be this like big menace, but it kind of has a lot of sets. Like, yeah, it should. Both the Wacky and Duosion like Eviolite sets. It makes this absolutely annoying water to deal with. But also both of them can run offensive sets. The Wacky definitely does it better because of its crazy ability. But Duosion can also do it very well with that Magic Guard or even Life Orb set. So
I mean, hey, bring your Thwackey, I'll raise you a Devotion with acid armor.
very true. That's another thing. Devotion is the defensive Thwackey in setup, I feel like.
Yeah, the only thing that I would say Thwackey I do agree with you, the Thwackey having, I'm blanking on the
Grassy Surge.
term of it. Yeah, Grassy Surge, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Yeah, they're having the Grassy Surge. Yeah. That's an unbeatable aspect of it.
Absolutely. Rillaboom is bust. It's a well-known mod for a reason.
Well, like I said, I mean, you saw what I did when I faced the Rillaboom user last season. I mean, yeah, Rillaboom's overpowered, but it can't stop what it can't stop, so.
Yes. But I do definitely think, Rillaboom has a lot of factors, sadly, that Delusion can't. Poor Delusion. Anyways, I feel like we should talk about our last mon to finally wrap up the whole team and wrap up some of the holes that we had. We do add a little bit more holes with this, but that's fine. Mainly a stealth wax factor. Our final mon we added, which I gotta say, I really love to Okami here. He said, "Hey, tell me, you choose whatever you want for our last mon. You don't gotta tell me, just choose it." And I personally was going very back and forth with Kafagrigus because I mean Kafagrigus. Look at that mon and that stats and that the fact that it neutralizes abilities. But something that Okami brought up at the very start of our drafting was Orbeetle, and I kind of I think in text I was very much like but honestly when he said it, I was like, oh, I like this a lot. Mainly because it has such a great stat pool. I never actually thought about like the 120 and 110 both those defense and def is really insane. I never knew this mon was that bulky and is quite literally the psychic version of Kofagrigus. And that's why I went with it over Kofagrigus. But the big factor with Orbeetle, of course, is that we were just complaining this whole draft. Our speed tiers are kind of meh. We kind of have a Trick Room-ish team. Orbital very much gets rid of that with Sticky Webs. Sticky Webs practically gives us the massive advantage. If we ever get this up, DRACOVISH pretty much wins the game on the spot. Which is just something that is such a crazy thing to say that, hey, if I get these webs up, it's pretty much GG because I have a fish. But also this mon gets a really ability that I love so much in draft. I love this kind of more than Regenerator sometimes, and it's Frisk. Just knowing your opponent's moves, items, are just so massive, especially since sometimes the surprise factor is what you really truly built into a team, and the fact that we can kind of just take that out of the consideration is really nice. But also stuff like, if we didn't know a certain mon was scarfed because of damage, we now can know.
Oh yeah, no, like I said, I think the frisk tech is what you want. I mean, yeah, you could run Swarm if you really needed to for the big hit with the bug buzz or whatnot, but
Yeah, some
the sticky
bash.
webs is yeah, the fact that it gets some things that you would want in a mon with base 90 speed. It's decently fast webs. It's got U-turn. It's got trick room. It's got trick. It's got like you said, the webs is the main kind of like the main idea behind it. It's got some resists we needed too in fighting and ground. Yeah, but it is a knockoff weak user, but it also is another nice thing about Orbido that, not to say that it does it well, but it still gets future sight. I mean, the future sight U-turn on a fast mount like this, especially if they're anticipating the webs, and then you lay out the future sight, you're running a little bit faster than, whatever their base mount is, especially if they're running an Excadrill. You just got a free, not that Excadrill can beat this because of the energy ball, but you just got a free move off and then you turned out. The other side of it too is that I really like about this mon is that defense stat. The base 110 defense stat. It gets iron defense, and for whatever reason, over Eldegoss, this mon got body press. For whatever reason. This mon can do.
Yeah, you
What,
go,
go
you
ahead.
go. I was gonna say, I think the reason why I got body press is because it's a fucking big ass robot when it becomes that big form. What is it
Oh
called?
yeah, it comes
Gigantamax?
UFO.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gigantamax Orbital, yeah. No, I mean Orbital. I think you said it said something that I do agree with because Confagurus as a Pokemon is one of my favorite Pokemon in Pokemon. I've used it so many times in draft. I think we were talking. I think that's one of the top drafted mons. Not that I used it in draft that often because it does have a really low. I mean, very predictable mon at the end of the day. But this mon does a lot of what Cofagrigus does, and in some cases, because Cofagrigus has like a base 43 or something like that, base 40, something like that speed,
Yeah.
and this has a base 90, you got fast recovers, you got ops out, you got a decent. I'm not saying it's great, but it's got a decent move pool coverage. It's got the iron defense, it's got the calm mind, it's got trigger. But it's got all these things that just supplement to our team very well. And give us that ability to run the moves. The other side of it too is it does have access to what's it called, hypnosis. So I mean it's got other techs that it can do. Not that we're running hypnosis on every as it's a normal move to run, but it's just an option.
Yeah, so a nice for a spot
Yeah.
with speed too.
And I think it also has light screen and reflect. I noticed a trend here.
Crazy. Another thing that I also should probably say over Coffee Grigus is that this mon kind of feel like when I was looking back and forth with this mon, I kind of felt like this was the better Coffee Grigus because we got webs, and one thing I would think about Coffee Grigus was like, hey, we do kind of have a slow team going, so Trick Room could help in sometimes, like for some matchups. And Coffee Grigus, I think, gets that when I was looking at it, but Orbeetle,
Yes, Cofagrigus does get it.
yeah, so it's just like, wait a minute, Orbeetle does this but better. But yeah, I think what Okami said is like absolutely like exactly what it kind of does. It's like it's this mon that yeah, it has a very basic sticky website it could be running. However, due to this crazy good stat pool that I never really thought of, it very much does not have to be a just one and done, one dimensional sticky web mon. It could very much be a Combine or Iron defense set. very much just have a great coverage. It could be some sort of AV and then have like Miracle to just completely wall special attackers. It has some very nice scenes. Yet again, that very nice U-turn giving us momentum. Feature Sight U-turn is one of my favorite things to run in draft. Just the fact that you don't really have to make any predictions. You just kind of get a very powerful Future Sight off with no loss, and you get good momentum. And yeah, even like how Okami said, how some of the checks to this mod doesn't really become great checks because of Energy Ball or possible Giga Drains if you set up. Um, and the body press is really nice. But also, one thing that I really love about this mod is that I would probably see as funny and actually kind of often, is possibly like specs or scarf sets, and then we can kind of just trick it away. Um, or something weird like we could be like Clay, and we might have trick just to completely get rid of a certain person's item because we don't like it. That's one thing I like to do at least when I have on-screen mons is just like I don't need this Clay anymore. You can have my Clay. Um, but one of the big factors is definitely that it does need kind of heavy duty if it wants to be this non-sticky webs user sometimes, mainly because of that big bug weakness. And now, of course, with our team, we kind of built a little bit of a Rox weakish team. Not really, but Adinente and Orbital does kind of scream, hey, get Rox in front of us because we're going to be coming in often. Um, but yeah, another thing that's also nice is it gets agility. Like this mod with setup is very nice.
Yeah, the agility on top of stored power. Yeah, with all the other things, especially since it's got enough bulk to potentially survive a hit. Yeah, you're talking a lot of free moves to mess around with. The other thing that you kind of alluded to that I do really like is our team screams Stealth Rocks. And a lot of times when you see Orbital lead, people will probably be anticipating, well, I'm going to trade rocks for sticky webs, and then I'll be able to get rid of the sticky webs no problem because we don't have a ghost.
Yes.
But the one thing that Orbital has too that I mean, if they're anticipating the Orbital to lay the webs and we're anticipating the rocks to come up, we have Magic Coat, which there's not that many mons with that move anymore.
Absolutely.
It still gets the Magic Coat, so we can get up rocks and the webs on a trade, potentially.
Magico is
Which I really like.
Magico is my least favorite and most favorite move because I love using it and I love when you get it off. I hate, however, when you're fighting a mono with it because now it makes me have this absolutely insane mind game. There's been so many games where I've seen a Arachnid and I'm just like, fuck me. What am I supposed to think? um, but yeah, I really love Magico as a move. I think it's such a great move, especially in draft, when sometimes you kind of see an obvious like Stealth Walker or Hazard Mon, um, mainly just because like either they just didn't bring the other ones, or maybe they did bring the other ones, but looking into the matchup, you could probably expect this is going to be the Stealth Walker. And that's just very nice for Magic Coat users because if we can get Vox up for free and completely stop my opponent from doing so, that's amazing. It's just better taunt to me in that way. So
Oh, yeah. Too, and if you get tricked or whatever, they're trying to trick you if you're the um if you, like I said, if they're trying to cripple this mon, it's because they are anticipating it to be a screens or a Weber. We have the magic code to prevent that. See if they're going to try to trick us, and then just flip it out for something else. And like you said, something that makes this mon kind of like a what's it called? Gothitelle Light is if this mod had Encore, it'd be way better than it is. Obviously, it'd be better than, in my opinion, I wouldn't say it'd be better than Gothitelle, but it'd be doing, it'd move from that slow Encore to that fast Encore. But the one thing that Gothitelle sets run that this Orbital can run very well too is, like you said, it's the Trick It, run like a Specs or a Scarf, trick the Scarf, and actually run setup. So you run setup to just drop them the item, then start setting up in front of their face, especially if you cripple the setup mon. For example, like, Mega Alakazam. If you're going for Calm Minds, or not Mega Alakazam, but like Alakazam or Gengar, or something like that, running a move, they're trying to nasty plot up in front of you, you toss them the item, they nasty plot, and then you start setting up.
yeah,
And I can't wait to just anticipate some of these sets and try to have some fun with it.
absolutely. Another move that it gets that also does kind of exactly what you said is sometimes probably in different scenarios that would be of course better is infestation, just like how we talked about before with devotion and stuff like that. We can very much just bait in or get a mon in that we really like to set up in front of with Calm Mind or even Iron Defense, Infestation at it, and then now we just have like a +6 Orbital. And now it could be very much game with Body Press and Sword Power, which is such a strong setup mon. That's one thing that's super nice about a Sword Power mon, is the fact that you of course get hard walled by Dark Mons. But thanks to Orbital having Body Press, we really don't have to worry about that, which is really nice.
Exactly. No, like I said, I think it's the final piece that we needed. Yes, we have some gaps that we obviously have talked about a little bit here, but I think that I think we'll use all of these mons each at least once or twice. I'm gonna say twice, but
We'll see. We'll see if some Duosion. I don't know if Duosion could take on like some Mega Giants or something like that. We'll see.
I mean, you get up the right acid armor, I could probably take it. But
Very true. Very true.
that was our draft. I'll just really quick recap the order of the draft. We drafted in order. Um, Dracovish first, Tapafini second, Guzzlord third, Archaludon fourth, Tangrel fifth, Diancie sixth, Entei seventh, Zamazenta crowned eighth, Gligar ninth, Eldegoss 10th, Duosion 11th, and then finally Orbital.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I'm really happy with this team. I'm really excited to not only use this team, but I'm also just like, I love all these mons on this team. There's usually sometimes where I'm like, I don't like you as much, but I'll still use you. Because you just need typings or something like that. But I really love every single mon on this team. Of course, I have some, Entei's right there. But I do think we kind of got certain stuff carried away, not carried away, but given to us like that. Our child on it. I'm still absolutely in shock that we got that. Round 4 is wild. Um, but hey, we can't complain because now we have this epic draft team.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Like I said, I'm well, there is obviously we on a separate note, obviously for us, right? We know some of our gaps, and I think we have solutions to every one of our problems. And I do at first, going the full, I'm gonna say full sending on these dragons was at first to me a little sketchy, but at the end of the day, you look at their weaknesses, and our Chaladon's not actually weak to fairies, so it's at the end of the day, he's not really a dragon per se. Yeah, he is, but it's not the biggest threat to him at the end of the day. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I think we made the right call drafting A's later in the tier, seeing what everybody else is drafting, and then kind of reorienting the mons we wanted to use around a centerpiece. Obviously being the first round pick, Dracovish just fire and forget like we had originally talked about, and then kind of like what is our other plans? And I think we did a good job of creating other scenarios where we're not using just Dracovish, we're not using just Diancie, we're not using just Entei, we're not using just Zamazenta. We're focusing on other pieces of the puzzle to do things. We're going to have many solutions. We're going to have many other crazy sets we've already talked about, not in here but outside of here. I think when we run through our team previews ahead of time before the battles, I think people are going to be pretty shocked to see how some of these battles play out. I know that in some of these weeks we're going to have some uphill battles, just based on the teams in initial review. I think our first week we have to get that. We have to start prepping for that here almost immediately. But we can talk about that in the draft preview, kind of what our thoughts are. And look at the math here. Yeah, you'll be taking this first week, so you'll start us off because you have a specific match you wanted to do, and that's because we already talked. We're going to lead every other. So, I think the viewers will be in for a little treat because I think this is going to be it's a draft. I'm the main captain. You're the co-captain, but it's our team. We're one team, and I think it's going to be fun because you're going to be hearing. I think when we discussed, we're going to go ahead and run each battle as us together, kind of walking through and talking it out. Obviously you'll lead the first one, I'll lead the second one, and then I know you had that special match you want to do specifically, which I'm all in for it. So
yes.
we'll have some fun with it.
A little hint is that they're the player that I want to fight, that I've been wanting to. So that's the main reason. I won't spoil it, and I also won't spoil it because I know people love this person. Um, but yeah, I didn't even know I was taking first week, so I am now. I got the nerves back in me. I was feeling pretty calm going through the team, and now I'm back with those nerves. Hell yeah. Always gotta love when
Yeah,
week
but
one happens.
our week one isn't. I'm not gonna say I don't know the player personally, so I'm just to say that our the matchup isn't our first week matchup is going to be one where well, I mean, we talked about it. There's some things we have in our pool that are going to allow us to succeed. So
Yes.
just remember, there's your favorite mon on that team, which is that Minior. So
Yes, that we'll see. We'll get to that in the next video or whatever. Um,
yep.
but yeah, I definitely think this first battle is kind of a little bit of a uphill in specifically our teams, not possibly players. I wouldn't be surprised if the player absolutely fucking cooks me, but um, team wise, I definitely think we have a little bit of an advantage. They have of course some great checks. We have some good checks, but I think in the long run we may have a little bit better. But that's another thing that I do just want to mention before we wrap everything up or end the video about our team is that with a 12 draft, um, I love a 12 draft, but most importantly, it is just so with a team like this, you can very much see pretty much any mon coming. It's not like a something weird like a Glimlet or something as one of your final tier E picks or something like that, where it's like, yeah, it's alright, however you don't see it coming. Our entire team very much can come every week, which is something I absolutely just love kind of making, even if I do bad in the whole season. Just the fact that I made a team where everyone was like, man, everything can come. That's just kind of something that I think as a someone who built the team, or maybe just draft players overall, as at least personally, is like kind of a win for you if someone says that. Even if you don't know they say it, but if you can just kind of look at it and think that, it's pretty great.
Oh yeah, I think you said that very well. I think that is very true, and I think that I know you and I are in a similar aspect where we didn't draft these guys to just let them ride the bench. Now there are some reasons why you would let some of these ride the bench. Obviously, we're not going to be bringing Entei, Deancey, and Guzzlord together every week, but any given operate like a football team, I guess. Any given Sunday, everybody's gonna have their time to shine, whether it be their time to shine, do nothing. They still came, they still helped, and we just gotta view it as that. And it shows, like you said, as a good sign of a good draft player is you draft the pieces you want to fit into the puzzle. And if you're missing a piece of a puzzle, you find a way to use something you drafted as that filler for that piece. Now, there are going to be days and matches where we fall flat,
Mm-hmm.
but at least with our draft too, is we're not focusing on one. Yeah, we have fun solutions to just have it be there as the backup plan, which I really like about our draft. But we have a lot of fun, creative things we can do to have matches take place where we're keeping our opponents on their feet, even if the match is favorable in their court.
Yes. I also feel like due to a team being very pretty much anything can come, it's really hard to say that there is a bad matchup for us, which is something that is kind of also a two-handed sword, I guess you would say. Like, hey, we can't really complain about having a bad matchup when we have just a great 12. Um, but yet again, that's still just a great thing to say. But sometimes if you lose and you say that, you're like, guess I just bit myself on that part.
Yeah, there's a few teams I'm a little worried about. I'm worried about the Gouging Fire team, which again we'll review that later because they have Gouging Fire Mew and Gliscor and Iron Crown,
Oh,
so it's a
Mew.
menacing team.
Oh man, Mew net decks. I completely forgot that mon existed.
Yeah.
Oh, anyways, we'll wrap it up here. This was a very long draft analysis. However, it's also, I think, not only our most thorough draft analysis, but definitely the mons that I think I've done a draft analysis for like all my mons. I think usually I do a draft analysis for like eight, 9 mon tiers or drafts. So not usually 12, and of course with some of the new rules and all that stuff. So I will apologize for the very long video, but honestly, I think it's a video that's worth watching for a draft analysis, especially with this type of team.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree.
Anyways, I'll see everyone in week 1, which hopefully I won't throw. Honestly, I probably will, knowing me. I always love throwing those week 1 matches, but we'll see.
It's the only one you can throw. Is that first week and then the last week once you've secured. So
That's very true. That's very true. Maybe that's why I do it so often. That's the reason actually now. Anyways, I'll see you guys then. Later.